Welcome again everyone. In today's video we will solve all NET exams questions from last paper December 2019 where 8 questions were from operating system. So let's start with our first question. Our first question is, consider a paging system where translation look-aside buffer TLB, a special type of associative memory, is used with hit ratio of 80%. Assume that memory reference takes 80 nanoseconds and reference time to TLB is 20 nanoseconds. What will be the effective memory access time given 80% hit ratio? Similar type of question has been asked many times in GATE and NET exam. Whenever we have to calculate effective memory access time given TLB, its formula will be TLB hit ratio multiplied by TLB access time plus memory access time plus TLB miss ratio into TLB access time plus page table access time plus memory access time. Though it is not given in the question what is the page table access time, we assume that page table resides in main memory. So we will take 80 nanosecond as page table access time. So let us put values. TLB hit ratio. We are given that 80% hit ratio. So TLB hit will be 80%, that is 0.8 into TLB access time, which is given as 20 nanoseconds in the question. So we will take 20 plus memory access time, which is 80 nanoseconds plus TLB miss ratio. Now what will be the miss ratio? We are given 80% hit ratio, so miss ratio will be 1 minus hit ratio, that is 1 minus 0.8, 0.2. So we will put 0.2 in TLB miss ratio into TLB access time, that is 20, plus page table access time 80 nanoseconds, same as memory access time, plus memory access time, that is again 80. Now just do multiplication and addition. 20 plus 80 will be 100. 100 into 0.8, it will be 80 plus 80 plus 80 plus 20, 180 into 0.2, 36. 80 plus 36 will be 116. So our answer will be 116 nanoseconds, which is option B. Our next question is, identify the circumstances under which preemptive CPU scheduling is used. Statement A is, a process switches from running state to ready state. Now whenever a process switches from running to ready state, preemptive CPU scheduling is used. A process switches from waiting state to ready state, again yes. Third statement is, a process completes its execution, no. A process switches from ready to waiting state, again no. Now in C and D statement, last two statements, there is no choice of scheduling. Non-preemptive scheduling is used when a process terminates or a process switches to waiting state. So preemptive CPU scheduling is used in statement A and B only. Let us see our options. Our first option is A and B only. This is the right answer. In statement C and D, non-preemptive CPU scheduling is used. Next is, which of the following inter-process communication model is used to exchange messages among cooperative processes? Now first we need to know what is cooperative processes. Cooperative processes are not independent processes, that is, they can be affected by other executing processes. Let us see our options. Option A is shared memory model. Next, message passing model, shared memory and message passing model, and last is queues. Now there are two primary models in inter-process communication. First is shared memory and second is message passing model. So correct answer will be option C, shared memory and message passing model. Next question is, which of the following methods are used to pass any number of parameters to the operating system through system calls? Options are registers, block or table in main memory, stack, block in main memory, and stack. Now there are three main methods to pass parameters to operating system through system calls. First is pass the parameters in registers. They may prove insufficient when there are more parameters than registers. So using registers, we cannot pass any number of parameters. Next method is store the parameters in a block or table in memory and pass the address of block as a parameter in a register. Now this method can be used to pass any number of parameters. Next method is using stack. This method can also be used to pass any number of parameters. So right option should be both methods, block and stack. So that is option D, block in main memory and stack. Registers are not suitable to pass higher number of parameters than number of registers. So option A cannot be our right answer. Next question is, which of the following CPU scheduling algorithms is or are supported by Linux operating system? Options are non-preemptive priority scheduling, preemptive priority scheduling, and time-sharing CPU scheduling. Third option is time-sharing scheduling only, and last is priority scheduling. Now right answer is option B, preemptive priority scheduling and time-sharing CPU scheduling. Both are supported by Linux operating system. Next question is, suppose a system has 12 magnetic tape drives and at time t0, 3 processes are allotted tape drives out of their need as given below. Now we are given 3 processes P0, P1 and P2. Their maximum needs are given and their current needs are given. Now the question is, at time t0, the system is in safe state. Which of the following is safe sequence so that deadlock is avoided? Now in the question we are given that at time t0, 3 processes are allotted tape drives out of their needs. These are the needs. We have a total of 12 drives, right? Now all these needs are fulfilled. This is given in question. So a total of 5 plus 2 plus 2, that is 9. 9 drives has been allocated to these processes. So we are left with 3 tape drives only. Now we are given maximum needs and current needs. So required needs will be 10 minus 5, 5 for process P0, 2 for process P1 and 7 for process P2, right? Now this is the requirement and we are left with only 3 resources or 3 tape drives. Now requirement of P0 is 5, but we have only 3 drives. So we cannot fulfill P0 request. Next is P1. Its requirement is 2 drives and we have 3 drives. So we can fulfill its requirement. So we can allocate these 2 drives to P1. Now P1 has a total of 4 drives. It will process, it will execute fully and then will release these 4 tape drives. When it will release these 4 drives, we will have a total of 5 tape drives, right? Then these 5 tape drives can be allocated to process P0. Then it will have a total of 10 drives, will execute fully and release these 10 drives. Then we will have a total of 10 drives, right? then we can fulfill the request of P2, that is only of 7 tape drives. So write sequence will be P1, then P0, and then P2. So correct answer will be P1, P0, P2, which is option B. So correct answer will be option B. Next question is, now question is, given CPU time slice of 2 millisecond and following list of processes, we are given 3 processes P1, P2 and P3 with their burst time and arrival time. Our question is, find average turnaround time and average waiting time using round robin CPU scheduling. So we will make a Gantt chart in this question. At time 0, we have only one process, that is P1. So we will allocate CPU to P1 for 2 unit time because time slice is 2 millisecond. So its remaining burst time will be 1 unit time, right? 3 minus 2, 1. Next, at time unit 2, we have another process P2. So we will allocate CPU to process P2 for 2 unit time, and its remaining burst time will be 2. 4 minus 2, 2. Now at 4 unit time, we have only processes P1 and P2. Now at this point, we will not allocate CPU to P3 because arrival time of P3 is 5 unit time. So we will again allocate CPU to P1. Now burst time of P1 is only 1 time unit. So we will allocate CPU for 1 millisecond only. Now after this, P1 is fully executed. Next we will allocate CPU to P2 for 2 millisecond. After this, P2 is also fully executed. Now we are left with only P3. There is no other process. So only P3 will execute with a time slice of 2 milliseconds. Right? So this will be our Gantt chart for this question. Now let us first calculate waiting time of each process. We have 3 processes P1, P2 and P3. Now waiting time for P1 will be, first of all, let us see where is P1 in Gantt chart. It is at position 1 and position 3. At position 1, P1 waiting time is 0 because it is the first process being executed. At location 3, its waiting time is 2 units. It has waited for P2 to execute, then it was the turn of P1. So P1's waiting time is 2 units. Now let us check what is the waiting time of P2. First point P2 in Gantt chart. It is at location 2 and 4. Now at location 2, P2's waiting time is 0. Why is it so? Because its arrival time was 2. The moment P2 arrived, it was allocated a CPU. So its waiting time was nil. Now for location 4, its waiting time is 1 unit, 4 to 5, where P1 was executed. So total waiting time for P2 will be 1. Now let us see what is the waiting time for P3. Find the P3 in Gantt chart. Now it is consecutively executed from 7 to 12 time unit. So it started at time unit 7 and its arrival time was 5. Right? So 7 minus 5 is 2. Its waiting time is 2 unit. So total waiting time is 2 plus 1 plus 2, that is 5. And average waiting time is 5 divided by 3, that is 1.66. Right? So from the given options, we can see that there is only option B where waiting time is 1.66. So our correct answer will be option B. We do not need to calculate turnaround time, but for the sake of knowledge, let us see what will be the turnaround time also. Now turnaround time for P1 will be, first point where P1 is in the Gantt chart, it is at location 1 and 3. Now it terminates at 0.5 unit. So total turnaround time is 5 for P1 minus arrival time, that is 0. So total will be 5. Now let us see for P2. P2's last point is at 7 unit. So 7 minus its arrival time, that is 2. So total turnaround time for P2 is 5. And same way for P3, it executes fully at 0.12 unit time. So 12 minus its arrival time, that is 5. 12 minus 5 will be 7. Now average of these three values 5, 5, 7 will be 5.66. That is our option B. So correct answer for this question will be option B. This is our last question. A counting semaphore is initialized to 8. 3 wait operations and 4 signal operations are applied. Find the current value of semaphore variable. Now similar type of question was asked in June exam. We have covered that question in previous video. So here answer will be a total we have 8 semaphores where we have 3 wait operation, that is -3, and 4 signal operations. So total will be 8 minus 3, 5 plus 4, 9. So correct answer will be option A, that is 9. So that was our last question. I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you all for watching this video and all the very best for your exam.